As Judge Caprio inquired about the reason for Veronica's presence, he could sense the tension in the room intensifying. Her demeanor was unapologetic, a characteristic often seen in individuals accustomed to bending the rules in their favor. "Of course, Your Honor," she replied, her voice laced with a mixture of sarcasm and indifference. "I mean, it's just a speeding ticket. Isn't this a bit dramatic?" A murmur traveled through the audience, a blend of disbelief and disappointment. Judge Caprio, respected for his fair but no-nonsense attitude, maintained his calm. "Ms. Hastings, it's not merely about a single ticket. You have repeatedly disregarded traffic laws. This isn't a matter of drama. It's a matter of responsibility." What followed next was an exchange that would mark the courtroom with a sense of heated frustration. Veronica leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms defiantly. "With all due respect, Judge, people like me don't pay attention to such small details. My money can cover any tickets. I haven't caused anyone any real harm." The disbelief in the room swelled, echoing off the polished wooden walls of the courtroom. Judge Caprio straightened in his seat, his gaze piercing through her facade. He often dealt with cases where individuals had made poor choices, but this was different. Veronica's contempt for the legal process was almost palpable. "Your wealth does not exempt you from the law, Miss Hastings. Irresponsible driving puts others at risk, regardless of your intentions or financial means. I will not tolerate this attitude in my courtroom." Despite her privileged upbringing, cracks began to show in Veronica's confidence. The audience could see it. They witnessed the moment the reality of her situation began to sink in. Judge Caprio's reputation for fairness was well known, and it was clear he had every intention of ensuring justice was served, irrespective of the defendant's status. "Your Honor," she interjected again, trying to reclaim some control over the faltering situation. "Can we just settle this quickly? I have more important things to do than sit here and listen to this nonsense." The audacity in her voice combined with her dismissive attitude shocked everyone, and the tension reached a boiling point. "More important things?" Judge Caprio echoed, astonished. "How remarkable that you consider your life more important than the safety of others. Perhaps your community service will help you understand the value of empathy and the importance of personal responsibility." The room buzzed once more, a mixture of shock and admiration for the judge's words. Veronica sat frozen, the realization striking her hard. "Community service? You can't be serious." Her voice was a mix of disbelief and anger. "I assure you, I am quite serious," he replied firmly. "You will serve 20 hours volunteering in the community. Perhaps then, you will understand how your actions affect those around you." The audience erupted in applause, supportive of the judge's decision, while Veronica's confidence began to crumble. With dusk settling outside, the courtroom session concluded, leaving behind an air of anticipation. Veronica would have to face the consequences of her actions, and the real journey of transformation was just beginning. It became clear this would not simply be a case of justice served. It would be an opportunity for a wealth of learning and growth. As Veronica exited the courtroom, the weight of her arrogance grew heavier, inching her closer to a new reality she had long ignored. Without missing a beat, Veronica interrupted, her voice dripping with condescension. "Do you really think this is important? I could pay any fine 10 times over. Why are we wasting time on this?" Her words hung in the air like a bitter storm cloud, casting a dark shadow over the courtroom. Gasps echoed off the walls, the shock evident on the faces of the gallery. Judge Frank Caprio, however, remained composed yet stern, his reputation as a champion of the people shining through with every unwavering stare. "Ms. Hastings, disrespecting the court is never appropriate, regardless of your financial status," he replied calmly but firmly, his voice steady and authoritative. The tension in the room escalated, and spectators shifted uncomfortably in their seats, recognizing the potential for a dramatic confrontation. This was not just a woman dismissing a minor traffic violation. It was a blatant act of arrogance aimed at the very heart of justice. Veronica, unfazed, leaned back in her chair, arms crossed smugly, as if she were watching a mirror play unfold before her. Her dismissive posture reflected her belief that money could shield her from repercussions, a notion that Judge Caprio had made it his mission to dismantle. He had seen countless individuals use their privilege to evade accountability, but her brazen attitude was a challenge that stirred something inside of him. "Let's be clear, Ms. Hastings," Judge Caprio said, his tone firm yet calm. "This is about more than just a speeding ticket. It's about the responsibility each of us bears to follow the law. You may think you're above it, but I assure you that mindset will lead to consequences." There was a ripple of agreement from the audience, who leaned in closer, captivated by the unfolding drama. Judge Caprio had a unique ability to connect with the people, to make them feel that justice was alive and in motion right before their eyes. And in this moment, he was determined to deliver a lesson to Veronica that she would not soon forget. "You may believe that your wealth protects you," he continued, pacing slowly in front of his bench, his gaze locked onto hers. "But the law applies to everyone. It doesn't matter if you're a millionaire or a minimum wage worker. Safety and respect for others on the road are paramount. Your repeated violations of these laws show a gross disregard for the well-being of those around you." Veronica shifted, the confidence in her posture faltering as she heard the whispers of support and understanding from the spectators behind her. The courtroom offered a rare glimpse of unity, a community standing in solidarity against arrogance and indifference. "Perhaps you think community service is beneath you," Judge Caprio went on, sensing he had struck a nerve. "But I believe it may help you understand the importance of acting with responsibility and respect. This isn't merely about punishing you. It's about providing you with an opportunity to reconnect with the values that seem lost in your current lifestyle." She scoffed at him, but the fire in her eyes was dimming. The prestige of her designer clothes and the aura of superiority that had draped over her began to evaporate in the face of the judge's steadfast commitment to justice. The gavel hadn't even struck yet, but the resolve in the room suggested that change was looming, and it was about to sweep through her like a tide. Judge Caprio continued, "In a few moments, I will declare the consequences of your actions. Think carefully about what this means, not just for you, but for everyone you share the road with." As the tension in the courtroom reached its peak, Veronica's facade began to crack. Her smirk wavered, revealing a glimmer of uncertainty. The spotlight was on her now, a powerful reminder that no matter how wealthy or privileged one might be, true strength lies in character and accountability. This was her moment to take heed and perhaps, just perhaps, embrace the lessons that lay ahead. What would she choose to do with this moment? The audience held its breath, watching the unfolding drama that danced on the edge of transformation. As the courtroom held its breath, Judge Caprio leaned forward, his eyes locked onto Veronica's, channeling the authority that had earned him respect in the community. "Let me remind you, Ms. Hastings, that the law applies to everyone, regardless of wealth or privilege. You are not above justice." His voice boomed, resonating through the room and captivating everyone present. There was a shared understanding that something significant was about to unfold, the kind of justice that transcends mere penalties and delves into deeper moral lessons. "Today is not a platform for your arrogance. It's an opportunity for you to reflect on your actions," he continued, making it clear that he wouldn't be intimidated by her dismissive attitude. His words carried an air of wisdom, emphasizing that true justice is not just about punishment, but also about growth, understanding, and accountability. The spectators shifted in their seats, leaning forward as if their collective anticipation could alter the course of events. Judge Caprio had a talent for turning a courtroom into a classroom, and everyone could feel that lessons were, indeed, being taught. With each word, the mood shifted. The tide was turning, and those present felt an aura of hope blossoming within the courtroom, buoyed by the promise of justice. Yet Veronica scoffed, flipping her hair dismissively, clearly underestimating the weight of the moment and the repercussions of her brash behavior. She appeared unfazed, still believing her money could somehow shield her from the fallout of her actions. But Judge Caprio, sensing the disdain radiating from her like a palpable force, decided it was time to show her the consequences of her actions in a way that would resonate beyond the courtroom walls. He had dealt with countless defendants, but few had approached the law with such blatant arrogance. This required a response that would not only hold her accountable, but also challenge her understanding of the world beyond her privileged bubble. "Let's not waste any more time," he declared, his tone steady and resolute. "You will serve community service and face a substantial fine for your repeated violations." The words hung in the air, and a murmur of approval rippled through the room. Each spectator recognized that this was more than just a penalty. It was a chance for Veronica to learn an invaluable lesson in humility. As Judge Caprio continued with the details of her punishment, the gravity of the situation began to dawn on Veronica. She couldn't brush this off as a nuisance anymore. The community service would require her to engage directly with people from all walks of life, individuals who lived experiences starkly different from her own. The judge knew that this was a pivotal moment for her, an opportunity to confront her own beliefs about wealth, privilege, and the real-world impact of her actions. The judge elaborated. "You will serve 20 hours at the local homeless shelter, working alongside individuals who struggle to make ends meet every day. You will learn the true value of community and the importance of responsibility." He paused for a moment, allowing his words to sink in further. "I hope this experience will foster a sense of empathy and remind you that everyone, regardless of your financial status, deserves respect and consideration." Veronica's expression morphed from defiance to disbelief, and she opened her mouth to protest, but no words came out. In that moment, she understood that this was not merely a slap on the wrist. It was a reckoning. The judge was not just handing down a punishment, but offering her a lifeline, a chance to redefine her relationship with the world around her. As the audience watched her digest this revelation, there was a palpable shift in the energy of the courtroom. The hope that justice would bear fruit grew stronger, each person silently wishing that Veronica might seize this unique opportunity to change. Judge Caprio's gavel struck down, marking the end of the session, and the decision hung heavily in the air. It was a call for transformation, not just a punishment, and perhaps for the first time, Veronica would have the chance to rediscover the meaning of humility and humanity. As she left the courtroom, the whispers of hope and redemption followed her, a haunting reminder of the lesson she had yet to embrace. As Veronica's privileged facade began to crack, Judge Caprio outlined the specifics of her community service with a steady, unwavering voice. "You will spend 20 hours volunteering at the local homeless shelter," he declared, locking eyes with her. "You will work alongside those you likely never see from your penthouse view." The impact of his words was immediate and powerful, striking her like lightning in a clear sky. For a moment, her bravado faltered, and the facade of confidence crumbled slightly. "Me? At a shelter?" She scoffed again, the incredulity wrapped in her voice masking the growing unease within. The room seemed to hold its breath, and she could feel the weight of everyone's gaze on her, measuring her response. Yet, deep down, a flicker of doubt ignited. As the reality of the situation sank in, the gravity of her entitlement loomed larger than ever. This was not just a punishment. It was Judge Caprio's way of forcing her to confront the stark disparity between her lavish lifestyle and the struggles faced by those less fortunate. The next few weeks unfolded like a dramatic tale, with Veronica stepping outside the confines of her affluent life for the first time. Armed only with her designer handbag and an initial sense of disdain, she arrived at the local homeless shelter on her first day. The world she was stepping into was vastly different from her own. It was a humbling entrance, one that made her acutely aware of the barriers she had built between herself and those in need. As she donned an apron emblazoned with the shelter's logo, she was greeted with smiles ranging from warm to wary. It was clear that many of the volunteers and staff were not accustomed to seeing someone like her in their midst. With each meal served, however, She found herself exchanging small talk with the residents, listening to stories filled with heartache and resilience, laughter and tears. "Why are you here?" one man asked her, curiosity shining in his eyes. Veronica hesitated, caught off guard. How could she explain that she was fulfilling a court-mandated punishment? Instead, she found herself exclaiming, "I wanted to help." The sincerity in her voice surprised even herself. But as she served another plate of food, she realized that she was also hungry for connection and understanding. Each encounter chipped away at her deep-seated arrogance. There was something transformative about sharing meals with individuals whose lives had taken unexpected turns, removing the shields of pride that she had clung to for so long. She began to see their humanity, recognizing that everyone has a story worthy of respect, regardless of their circumstances. From senior citizens who shared tales of their past to young mothers discussing their dreams amidst hardship, Veronica slowly began to understand the value of every person's journey. One evening, she sat with a teenager named Maya, who had dreams of becoming an artist despite the challenges that plague her daily life. Veronica found herself captivated by Maya's passion and resilience, stirring emotions within her that had long been buried beneath layers of indifference. As the weeks progressed, her once mechanical interactions transformed into genuine conversations filled with laughter, warmth, and understanding. The preconceived notions she had clung to, the belief that her wealth and status made her superior, started to lose their power. She was learning invaluable lessons not just about others, but about herself, slowly chipping away at the armor she had built around her heart. By the end of her community service, Veronica emerged not just as a woman who had served her hours, but as someone profoundly changed. She walked out of the shelter that last day with a heavy heart, knowing she would miss the connections she had formed. The experience had opened her eyes to the world around her, and in her newfound clarity, she could finally see that wealth is not measured in dollars, but in compassion, humility, and the ability to understand others' struggles. Judge Caprio's decision had initiated a pivotal transformation in her life, one that would leave a lasting impact far beyond the confines of the courtroom. And as Veronica stepped back into her world of privilege, she did so with a promise to herself to carry these lessons forward and never forget the people she met during her journey, a journey that had turned out to be the most meaningful of her life. On her final day at the shelter, Veronica approached the manager with a mix of gratitude and newfound humility. "I never thought I would gain so much from this experience," she began, her voice soft yet earnest. "Thank you for opening my eyes." The manager smiled warmly, recognizing the profound transformation Veronica had undergone during her time there. It was a moment of redemption, one she never anticipated but ultimately embraced. The weight of her arrogance and entitlement had been exchanged for a deeper understanding of humanity. Reflecting on her journey, Veronica recalled the countless faces she had seen at the shelter. She thought of Maya, the aspiring artist, and the elderly man who shared stories of better days. Each interaction had chipped away at her walls, exposing a side of her spirit that she had long neglected. No longer was she merely the rich woman who had sauntered into court with an inflated sense of entitlement. She was now a woman of compassion and awareness. When Veronica stepped into the courtroom weeks later to see Judge Caprio again, the atmosphere was entirely different. Instead of striding in with the air of superiority that had once defined her, she carried herself with a sense of humility and purpose. Her appearance reflected her inner transformation. She wore simple yet elegant attire, a stark contrast to the designer outfits that had once symbolized her status. "Judge Caprio," she began, her voice steady yet sincere as she looked directly at him, "I came to thank you." Moments of tension and defiance filled the air during their last encounter, flooded her mind, but there was no tension now, only gratitude. "You show me that the law applies to everyone, and I've learned a valuable lesson about respect and responsibility." The vulnerability in her tone resonated with those present, many of whom understood the struggle of transformation. Judge Caprio nodded, a smile breaking through the seriousness that often occupied his demeanor. "It's never too late to change, Ms. Hastings. I hope you carry this lesson forward in all aspects of your life." His words felt like a blessing, reinforcing the idea that redemption was possible for anyone willing to embrace it. Applause erupted from the packed courtroom, echoing like a chorus of hope. Friends, family, and strangers alike stood in solidarity, celebrating her newfound commitment to a more compassionate life. This moment marked not just a legal resolution, but a testament to the power of accountability and personal growth. The atmosphere was electric with a sense of collective belief in the potential for change, a reminder that redemption was a viable path for all who sought it. As Veronica took a step back from the bench, she felt a profound sense of accomplishment. She had entered the shelter as a reluctant volunteer, motivated only by obligation, but now she emerged as a transformed individual. Leaving the courthouse that day was bittersweet. She was finally stepping away from her past arrogance and embracing a future shaped by connection and empathy. In her heart, she understood that true richness comes not from material wealth, but from the ability to connect with and understand those around us. Judge Caprio's lessons extended far beyond the courtroom. They reached deep into the fabric of her character. In that moment, surrounded by a community that had witnessed her journey, Veronica realized that justice had prevailed in ways far beyond legal penalties. Her story became not just a lesson for herself, but a narrative of hope and redemption for everyone who bore witness to it. It was a tale of humility, growth, and the profound changes possible when one dares to live with empathy and understanding. The journey of the rich woman who once disrespected a judge transformed into a lesson in life's greatest truths, one where compassion and connection outshine all. As she walked away from the courthouse, a new chapter began, one filled with potential to continue learning and giving back to the world that had so much to offer.